continuing. All right, so let's look at, let's do the first one. So we're going to do negative 5x plus 15y equals 20. And then x plus 5y equals negative 12. And again, all of these problems are always solving for an x and a y solution, so keep that in mind. Don't forget to check for the second solution, okay? All right, so now here in this case, we need opposites, right? Just like we said before. Like we said here, the last time we went over this, we needed opposites. Oh, we got here in the chat. Can we do one elimination problem number 3 later on? We'll do that after this example, Nori. Okay. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. So here we need opposites. And what I'm going to do is, since these are already opposite signs, I'm going to change the bottom equation so that it matches that number. So that means I would have to multiply here a 5. If I multiply 5 times the bottom equation, now it will be the opposite of negative 5. Okay, and now what's important here is I want to multiply every term, multiply all the numbers. All right, so here I'm going to copy the first one down. And now let's multiply every term. So 5 times x, 5x, then 5 times 5y, it's 25y. And then 5 times negative 12 is going to be negative 60. Okay, now, just like before, as long as they're opposite, we're going to cancel them. So now here's our opposites. Negative 5 and positive 5. And now we add up the rest. So 15 plus 25y. That's going to be 40y. Okay, net 20 minus 60. It's going to be negative 40. Okay, and then we divide by 40. And negative 40 divided by positive 40 would be negative 1. All right, now we found y, so obviously now we got to go find x. So again, go back to the original equation to plug it in. You could actually use like the new equation to plug in that value to find the other variable. It's just, honestly, I'm not going to do it because it's just larger numbers, but I'd rather use a one that has smaller numbers. The smaller the numbers, the less mistakes you make. That's the whole point of that. But you could plug it into this equation and you'll still get the same answer. So I'm looking for x, so I'm going to plug in this y into the y there. So that's why I'm going to write parentheses there, because I'm going to plug it into where y is. Okay, so negative 1. And what I noticed today, too, in class with students, and even just, I mean, this is all the time, is just be really mindful of those negatives. So like here, for instance, 5 times negative 12, that's a negative 60. Okay, here, I divided a negative by positive, that's negative. And when I carry it over here, don't forget that you need to write a negative. Okay, so just be mindful of those things as you're working through. Okay, so positive times negative, there's a negative. Now, we're going to add 5 to both sides. And again, here we go again with some more negatives. So negative 12 plus 5, those are different signs, so we subtract. 12 minus 5 is 7. The larger number is negative 12, so that means it'll be negative. And then again, the last step, you need to make sure that you always write your x value first. So we have negative 7 and then negative 1. So that would be the solution. And again, you can double check that on Desmos, like I showed you guys before. You guys take a second to write that down. Let me to be opposite. So in order for these to be opposite, I don't just multiply 2, I multiply -2. Okay, so now let's rewrite that first equation. Bring it down, and now I'm going to multiply all these through. Remember, multiply every term. -2 times 4. You're basically distributing is what you're doing. Now you get a -8. Notice that's what we wanted right there, opposites. If you didn't multiply negative, if you only did positive, you would just get a +8, and that would not cancel. Okay, so now we have +10, because -2 times -5 is +10. And then -2 times -19 would be +38. Okay, so now we have our opposites. And we can cancel those, because that becomes 0. And now we just add up the rest. +2 plus 10y is 12y. And then -2 plus 38, well, those are different signs, so we subtract. 38 minus 2 is 36. 38 is the bigger number, so that'll be positive. Divide by 12. And now 36 divided by 12 is 3. Now we found y, just like the last problem, we're going to find x now. Okay, it doesn't really matter in my opinion which one you choose, but again, it does not matter what equation you choose to plug in. I'm going to plug in the y into the first one, so that means I got to plug it in here after the 2. So I'll write parentheses. Just draw an arrow pointing that this has to get plugged in there, the y. Okay, so now we're going to just simplify the equation. So 2 times 3 first, which is 6. And then we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. Okay, so then that would be equal to 8. All right, then we divide by 8. Okay, and so we get x equals 1. And our answer would be 1 and 3. So I'll come back, but let's double check to make sure that's right. Eight x minus, all right, plus 2y, oops, click on it, 2y equals -2, then 4x minus 5y equals -19. All right, let's see if I got it right. And I got -1. Wait a minute. What happened? Okay, so now, again, we need opposites, right? But notice the x's and the y's, they're all positive. So that means that one of them is going to have to become negative, okay? Now, in all these cases, I've been multiplying numbers to make the x's opposite. But what about the y's? What if I want the y's to be opposite in the same number? Could I do that? Yeah, I could change those as well. So here, I'm thinking to myself, if I'm going to eliminate y, so let's write that down. So I'm choosing to eliminate y. So eliminate y. And the reason I'm eliminating y is because they're smaller numbers. So it's going to be easier when I have to multiply smaller numbers, okay? So I'm literally just doing that because they're smaller. You can eliminate x if you want to. It's just the numbers are going to be a little bit bigger, okay? So remember, again, focus on the fact that we're eliminating the y's right now, okay? So eliminating y's. All right, so in order to eliminate y, I have to think, can I multiply 6 times, or I have to look at the small, sorry, let me repeat myself. I have to think, can I multiply the smaller number times something to make it the other number? Well, in this case, no, I can't multiply 5 times anything to make it 6. So that means I'm going to have to multiply both equations, not just one. Now, when you're multiplying both equations, basically what you do is you take the bottom number, you multiply it times the top, and the top number and multiply it times the bottom. You basically just switch them, okay? Because now, if you think about it, 5 times 6 is 30, and 6 times 5 is also 30. But again, going back to this example, I need them to be opposite, right? That will still all be positive, so that means one of them, just one, not both, needs to be negative. So now it doesn't matter, I'm going to multiply a negative here. You could make the 5 negative, doesn't matter which one you choose, but at least one of them needs to be, because I need a negative number when I multiply. Okay, so now here, I'm going to go ahead and multiply 5 times everything. This is where you really want to take your time, because think about it, you're multiplying 6 different numbers. Okay, so really take your time with it. Use a calculator if you have to. First one's going to be 40x, then 5 times 6 is 30y. 5 times negative 18, that's going to be negative 90. It's a 5 times negative a negative, or positive times a negative. Okay, then I'll do the same thing on the bottom. Negative 6 times 10x is negative 60. Negative 6 times 5 is minus 30. And here's that key step. Do I have opposites after I multiply? If you don't, then that means you probably need to change what you multiply, because you need to have opposites after that. This would, okay, so now the last number, negative 6 times negative 25, that's going to be positive 150. Okay, so now we can eliminate. So 30 minus 30, that's 0. 40 minus 60, that'll be negative 20, because 60 is bigger. And then negative 90 plus 150, well, again, different sign, so we subtract. 150 minus 90 will be 60. And it's going to be positive because 150 is bigger. Divide by negative 20. And essentially, since they both have 0 on the end, it's just 6 divided by negative 2, which is going to be negative 3. Okay, so there's our first solution. Okay, and then we're going to take one of the original equations. I'll take the top one, and we'll find y. So 8x plus 6y. If I meant to plug in the x in the first step, but I'll just do it on the next step. So now I'm going to plug in that 3, negative 3, into x this time, because we found x first. So now I put parentheses. Plus 6y equals negative 18. Again, now the steps are the same like before. The second part is usually like the part that's pretty much the same every time. Just taking one number and plugging it into equation. It's that very first step, which is the kind of the key part. Okay, so that's going to be negative 24 there. I'm going to add 24 to both sides. Draw a little line here. Okay, and so that cancels out. I have 6y equals negative 18 plus 24, that's 6. And so divide 6 on both sides, and y equals 1. Put that together, negative 3, comma 1. Move this down like that a little bit. And kind of pause that just so that you guys can see it. All right, and if I were to verify that, you guys are writing it down. I'm actually going to type it in Desmos just to double check. And then 10x plus 5y equals negative 25. All right, so here I've got it all typed up. So now negative 3, 1, there's the solution, so it is correct. Okay, so that is how we eliminate. The key is choose a variable. In this case, I chose y. I chose y. In order to eliminate y, one of them had to be negative. So I multiplied in negative 6. And that's why it was negative here. Because you could, if you did just 5 and 6 here, they would both be the same number. They would both be 30, but they wouldn't be opposites. Okay, so again, that's the key step, making sure those are opposites. And then just be careful as you're multiplying each term. Make sure you're paying attention. Okay, negative times positive, that's negative. Negative times negative, that's positive. Okay, so make sure you're checking that as you go